Hey guys, so we have a lot to talk about, and this is going to be about the Golden Gate Bridge, the Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore the collapse that happened today, really early in the morning. It was kind of in between the the night of the 25th and the morning of the 26th. We'll talk about that. Um, so yeah, let's get started. And I'm gonna be starting with kind of like a synchronicity, I guess, but kind of also not, because it just kind of shows like I've been on the right track. When I posted this like 4 days ago about the Golden Gate Bridge terrorist alert, that was on November 2nd, 2001, and that was the same day I showed the Monsters Inc. the movie. It released in theaters. It premiered on 10/28/2001, a few days before that. And a really key part of the movie is the 2319 emergency code. Um, that's when when they're in contact with humans, and then they have to shut down the lab and um, basically like quarantine, like kind of like similar to stuff we experienced um, in 2020. But yeah, the code is 2319, and this is a little screenshot. This is from the movie, so they show that they're establishing this connection with like the nuclear symbol. So everything about like the 2319, I just gotta give like I do a lot, give credit to the channel 7-1, who's been talking about 2319 pretty exclusively for like years. Like in his videos are still on his channel about 2319, and they connect to like presidential like assassination attempts and like so many things. You should definitely go to 7-1's channel just to see how long how in depth his information is on the 2319. It's super interesting. And I've also seen Lambda talk about it too. He's he has some really interesting information on it as well. So let's just continue. So here's some information about the collapse, the Baltimore Francis Scott Key Bridge collapse. It was 3:26 at 1:28 a.m. Eastern time, but that was equivalent to 3:25, 10:28 p.m. Pacific time. So the first connection I found was from the Golden Gate Bridge terror alert to the Pacific time of when the bridge happened. So the time here in where I'm at, it was 8,179 days. 8,179 days, and that is really interesting because Francis Scott Key, his birthday, when you write it in the format, it matches that number, August 1st, 79. August 1st, 1779, so you just write August 1st, 79, like 8179. And right when I saw that, I was ready to find a lot more, and sure enough, I did. So one thing that a lot of people probably have seen by now is the correlation to what happened and Leave the World Behind, because it was a cargo ship that crashed into the bridge, and it was really dark, like almost like symbolic of like a blackout, like what the movie was about. And then there's this scene with the cargo ship crashing onto the shore. And another thing that makes that why this connection is so interesting is because it was released in theaters on 12/8, so you can see the similarities with like the time, the times they both, in both instances, have the 128 sequence, and as well as the release of Leave the World Behind. So to show how the 128 and that 2319 code are connected, the first prime number is 2, the second prime number is 3, and the 8th prime number is 19. So 128 gives you your 2319. And when you go from the date 2319, but we're gonna go from the year 1919, and this is gonna be very relevant to the rest of this whole video, because Revelation 19:19 is about war. I saw the beast and the kings of the earth and their armies gathered together to make war against him that sat on the horse and against his army. So you're gonna see how connected like this all has to do with war. First of all, Francis Scott Key, he wrote the Star Spangled Banner during war, like that. So that's where the Star Spangled Banner originated from war. And the rest of it is just, it's all gonna have to do with war, and you'll see. But so it makes this this connection even more double coded, like with the relevance of the war, because of so it's the date 2319 of the year 1919, so very, very coded. 2, the Golden Gate Bridge terror alert threat, whatever, and the release of Monsters Inc. same day is exactly 993 months on the nose. And the prime factorization of 993 is 3 times 331, and that's the second prime and the 67th prime. 3 is the second prime and 331 is the 67th prime, like 267. And that's what I've been showing in like my past few videos regarding the Golden Gate and the Golden Gate Bridge, because the Golden Gate, the celestial Golden Gate in the sky, is at the 267th degree of the ecliptic. So this is totally spot on and relevant and connected. This is basically just because this part doesn't have to do with the Baltimore incident necessarily, but this is really like huge background foundation of like why the terrorist threat happened on the Golden Gate Bridge on that day, and why Monsters Inc. released on that same day. Like this is basically proof of like I pretty much figured out why all that happened on that day and why it happened on the Golden Gate Bridge, if you can see that. This part is really, really interesting right here too. So the Senate passed the bill to make the Star Spangled Banner the national anthem of our country, the United States. The bill was passed on March 3rd, 1931, and it was officially adopted the next day on March 4th, 1931. So again, Senate passed the bill on 3/3/31, just like how like the 3 is the second prime, 3/3/1 is the 67th prime. So like 3/3/1, 3 is the second prime, 3/3/1 is the 67th prime. So the next day, like I said, that's when the Star Spangled Banner was adopted as the official national anthem. And when you go from the adoption date to 2319 of the future, and I'm gonna show what makes this date so much more significant and important and relevant to all this. So it's 32,113 days, and that is like really crazy because 3 is the second prime, and 2,113 is the 319th prime. So it's like perfect. Again, 3 is the second prime, 2,113 is the 319th prime, to 2319. From the adoption of the Star Spangled Banner as the national anthem to 2319. Like that's, like, I feel like I'm really figuring out like this. There's no way that's a coincidence. There's no way that's a coincidence. And like the fact that I posted about that video 4 days before this all happened, which is, it's all related to like Francis Scott Key and the Star Spangled Banner. Like there's no way it's a coincidence. And considering that's why I'm like, it was just set up so perfectly like that. The Senate, they passed the bill on 3331, like how 331 is the second and 267th primes for the Golden Gate degree. And then the next day happened to be 32,113 days before 2319. Like that's why they did it. That's exactly why. Yeah, that's it. That's why. So, and I saw this from other decoders earlier. Decoding with Cody shared this like first thing last night, and then Casey Jones brought it to my attention as well. So when the collapse happened, the bridge, it was 17,170 days, like 1717, and I think a lot of the decoding gematria community is familiar with 1717 being the year that Freemasonry was founded. But there's so much more. Like, I think this video is basically gonna prove and show why Freemasonry was established in 1717. Like, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna, like, like, if this hasn't already been talked about, then this is exactly why Freemasonry was established that year. So 17 times 17 equals 289. And okay, so this is gonna show the connection between like what's going on with like that 1717 and then the Golden Gate Bridge. Like I was just saying, this number 289 is a 17th square, so 17 times 17, like the year 1717. And the golden ratio, I actually showed this a few videos before. There's a connection between the golden ratio and the number 53 because golden ratio is 1.618, and the prime factorization is 2 times 809, so 289, which is like 289, and 2,809 is the 53rd square, so 53 times 53. So these all are related to each other. 53 golden ratio, and then this 1717 situation, really just the number 17 in and of itself, and I'll show that in a little bit too. So Super Bowl 53, like how I just showed, how the number 53 was tied to like the golden ratio and the 1717. So Super Bowl 53, it was on 2/3/19, February 3rd, 2019. So that's why when I showed this here, it makes this even, this connection here, it exacerbates it even more. Like it makes it 100 times more miraculous, because that was Super Bowl 53, and it was the Patriots against the Rams, and the score was 13-3, like 133. So the prime factorization of 133 is 7 times 19, and that the number 719 is the 128th prime number. So this connects back to the bridge collapse on 128, and how the first prime is 2, the second prime is 3, and the 8th prime is 19, like 2319. It all just is a circular puzzle right here, and it shows without a doubt 100% that this was all by design. There's absolutely no question about it. Like, I hate to burst anyone's bubble, but there's absolutely no way that this was not designed to be like this. And it's interesting, like with the Patriots, you know, with the theme of like the Star Spangled Banner, and they beat the Rams. This is gonna have to do with Ares, the god of war, and I'm gonna show I'm gonna show a lot more about that later, but like it's just perfect that it was the Patriots and the Rams. Yeah, this was all by design, like 100%. And when you see like everything else, it's just gonna corroborate that completely. There's just no way to deny it. The Super Bowl 53, the Star Spangled Banner national anthem was performed by Gladys Knight, and she was born on May 28th, 1944. So from her birth to that, the release of Monsters Inc., which was also the Golden Gate Bridge terror alert thing, that was 20,977 days, like 2977. That is a reference to the total victims on 9/11, 2,977. And keep in mind that like this whole situation was going on because it was shortly after 9/11. So 9/11 was really, it was a huge part of like this whole thing and this whole decode overall. But like I showed a few days before the release of Monsters Inc., typo here, it should say premiere. That's when the Monsters Inc. premiered, and she was born exactly 2,996 weeks before that. And 2,996 represents the total casualties on 9/11, which is the 2,977 victims plus the 19 hijackers. So it was exactly that amount of weeks. So it was just perfectly coded around both of those. She was perfectly connected to Monsters Inc. in both ways, both of these, and happens to sing the national anthem on 23/19, where that movie, it comes from that movie. And the halftime performance, it was Travis Scott and Maroon 5. I emphasize the Scott because of Francis Scott Key. Again, like with this whole thing is about the Francis Scott Key Bridge, the person who wrote the Star Spangled Banner. These two things were part of the halftime show. It started with this little clip from SpongeBob, the Band Geeks episode, aired on 9/7/01, and there's gonna be a lot this is going to be really significant to the overall decode, like the episode itself, which I'll show. This represents, this was also like a little clip right before they showed Travis Scott on stage, which is representative of like the falling wormwood star from Revelation 8:11, and you can go and look at a lot of, if you were to type in like wormwood prophecy on like Google Images or something, you'll see a lot of like books or movies or little documentaries with this depiction. And it's also interesting that there's going to be like a Devil's Comet on the eclipse coming up, I believe, or around that time. Someone can correct me, but so Travis Scott was born on April 30th, 1991, and from his birth to today, the bridge collapse, he was born exactly 17 weeks before the bridge collapse. So another just completely spot on decode, like proof of why he performed at the Super Bowl that year, and proof that there's something that has to do with that, all that, like all those numbers and like the 2319 with what's happening today and what's gonna happen soon. Like this is absolutely impossible for, especially with the part with Gladys Knight. Sorry, but yeah, the part with Gladys Knight, and now on top of that, Travis Scott. Exactly 17 weeks, like to today, where today the bridge is like 1000. It's like 17 0. I'll just go back. So the Francis Scott Key Bridge, it's 17170 days today when it collapsed, and Travis Scott, who performed at Super Bowl 53 on 2319, he was born 17 weeks before today. Not a coincidence. I'm not stupid. Sorry, like, to people who still like don't want to admit it, but I don't know. I've shown enough that I'm not surprised if you still don't admit it even after this, because I already know that nothing's gonna convince you at all, no matter, even if like Travis Scott himself came and told you. Well, that would, but other than that, like, there's all the proof in the world wouldn't change anyone's mind who doesn't like, who can't admit it now. So moving on, he was born on the anniversary of the Church of Satan, their founding, which was in 1966 in San Francisco, where the Golden Gate Bridge is. Another connection. But what makes that interesting is that it was the 25th anniversary. So yeah, the 25th anniversary, and I'll show why the 25 is so important. From 2319, aka Super Bowl 53, to today's bridge collapse, the Francis Scott Key Baltimore bridge collapse, it was 1,879 days, and that is the 289th prime number, and again, 289 is 17 times 17. So if that doesn't like have an impact on you, like you don't understand it, or you don't want to see it, you don't want it to be true. This is all impossible to just be random and meaningless. It's impossible. You don't get it. You don't understand. So this is where the 25 comes in. Like how I showed that Travis Scott was born on the 25th anniversary of the Church of Satan founding. So he performed right next to Maroon 5, and they're a reference to Mars, the red planet, like maroon, red, and the 5. Obviously, yeah, they have 5 members, but the 5 is a reference to the magic square of Mars, which is a 5x5 grid. It's all the numbers between 1 and 25 consecutively added in like I said, this 5x5 grid. So the numbers associated with Mars are 5, 25, 65, and 325. So if you add up 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 all the way to 25, it equals 325. And again, the bridge collapse, it was when it happened, it was still 325 here on the west at 10:28 p.m. So so another connection to that bridge collapse, and Mars. And like I said, Travis Scott was born on the 25th anniversary of the Church of Satan founding, which they were founded in San Francisco, where the Golden Gate Bridge is. The time of 23:19 p.m. is 1,399 minutes into the day, and when you convert that into the date 1399 to 2319 or Super Bowl 53, it's exactly 241 months, and the 241st prime number is 53. So that is more absolute proof of why Super Bowl 53 was on 2319 and why all those people performed at on that day, and why the two teams who played against each other, the Patriots and the Rams, who the Ram is Aries, the Mars. I'll show that in a little bit, but yeah, and then the score lines up with the 2319. Like, it was all by design. So I don't know, I'd love to have someone try to challenge me. Like, I would like come through. Like, I would love it. I just love to see what they would say, other than like, oh right, yeah, totally. Like, that's the only thing I could really. No one can ever like say anything logical that could argue anything that I'm sharing. So that's why I stand so firm in all of my work. You know, it doesn't like I unfortunately really do not care about what anyone may think, because I already know it's just not based in any type of logical sense. Like, I'm sorry. Furthermore, Mars in the Fibonacci sequence, it equals 289, and again 289 is 17 times 17. So again, just another perfect connection. And again, I should have put like the Rams helmet here, but anyway, so Mars is the god of war, and again, this is all about war. You know, that's the origins of the Star Spangled Banner, and I'm gonna show how the attacking of Israel by Hamas, how this numerically connects to all the same stuff that I just showed you. So Israel attacked Hamas on October 7, 2023, and the number 107 is the 28th prime, and 23 is the 9th prime, like 289 again, Mars 289. And this is why the 17 is so important to war, because these two houses right here, the Mars rules the first house, which is Aries. Aries the ram, so that's why the Rams played, and they oppose the seventh house, Libra, and this is the this date that Israel was attacked by Hamas was during Libra. So this connection with Mars in the first house opposing the seventh house, Libra. Libra is ruled by Venus. And I guess another kind of eerie connection is that Venus, the magic square Venus, is a 49, and like the 49ers from San Francisco, so just another connection. So 1-7, first house, 7th house, 1-7, and then 17 times 17 is 289. Mars. I don't think I'm missing anything. So from the opening of the Francis Scott Key Bridge to that date that Israel attacked Hamas, which this number is also tied to Mars, is exactly 17,000 days. So that proves even further that this 1-7 connection is completely relevant to all the stuff going on and war, and this should so far show why Freemasonry was founded in 1717, because you guys, a lot of the decoders, you guys probably are aware of like the whole thing with Albert Pike saying, oh, like there needs to be 3 world wars, and then before we can like establish the new world order. So at this point, like all of this should at least prove like why Freemasonry is so tied to 1717. It's not just like for no reason, not for nothing. And it's all relevant to everything that's happening right now, and has been happening, since 2319 apparently. So again, like how perfect this is, from the bridge opening to the Israel attacking Hamas, 17,000 days exactly, 17. So you saw the connection with Leave the World Behind and like the cargo ship. So that movie, everyone should know, at least like if you've seen it, how that was connected to Matthew Perry and Friends, because the whole movie, the girl was trying to watch the last episode of Friends, and the movie, like it came out in festivals 3 days after Matthew Perry died, which is really, or 3 days before he died, and then that was on October 25th, but then it came out actually like on Netflix on 12/8. So it was being made before he even died, and then it was all that stuff happened at the same time. So these are some notes. Yeah, Matthew Perry, or I mean, like going back to that 17 theme, he was in the movie 17 again, and this is basically going to explain why he was. So Matthew Perry, I already talked about how he was connected to Leave the World Behind. He died on October 28th, and like I showed, the bridge collapse was on 10:28 p.m. Pacific time, and also the whole thing with Monsters Inc. premiered on October 28th. There's a lot more things about 10:28, and furthermore, Chandler Bing's character in Friends, like his fictional birthday, was exactly 666 months before Israel was attacked by Hamas. Like, exactly. So again, corroborates why he was in the movie 17 again, and what the 17 is representing, more than just some random movie title. And this part with Zac Efron is gonna corroborate it even more. So this is Zac Efron's birth to 2319, or the Super Bowl 53, is exactly 1633 weeks, and that is the 17th star number, 17. So still just, and when you go from the Golden Gate Bridge terrorist alert, that was also the release of Monsters Inc. to Leave the World Behind, and the release in theaters 12/8, or not in theaters, the release on Netflix. It was exactly 1,153 weeks, and that's the 191st prime, and Mars equals 191 in the Satanic cipher. Yep. So what's interesting is, this is from Fox, and they're I'm pretty sure this is not an accident. I'll show right now why. I think some sources might have been saying that the completion of the construction was March 24th, 1977. And again, it might have to do with time zones or something, but what I'm about to show is going to completely explain that. So again, the Golden Gate is at the 267th degree of the ecliptic, and this is something that I've been showing a lot in my past videos. Yale University, where the Skull and Bones 322, where they come from Yale's 267th birthday, again counting the Golden Gate, to the alternative opening date of Francis Scott Key's bridge opening, the one I just showed, is 30,809 days, 389, and that matches the prime factorization of 267. 3 times 89, 389. And the way that this connects to us today is that 3 is the second prime, 89 is the 24th prime, like 224, like how we are in the year 2024 at 224. So I believe that's why all this Golden Gate stuff is really important regarding this year, and what's like this eclipse that's coming up in a few days. I don't know, like, who knows if it's really like pointing exactly to that date, but this eclipse has been highly anticipated for a long time, and there's a lot of things that show like that a lot of things have been planned around it for like hundreds of years. That's what a lot of us have been showing. So the 224 is big, that that this 267 connects to our year, our current year. From the date 2319, which is also Super Bowl 53, to the date that sorry, I put Israel attacked Hamas. I meant Israel was attacked by Hamas. I'm sorry if I messed that up in some of the other slides, but I think you guys know what I mean. It was 1,707 days, and the prime factorization of 1707 is 3 times 569, and the 3,569th prime number is 33,331, and that is the exact amount of days between the opening or the start of the construction of the Golden Gate Bridge and the eclipse that's happening in like less than 2 weeks, like a week and a half or something like that, maybe 2 weeks. But yeah, that's huge. Another huge corroboration of why these events, like why these things happen at the times they did and how they did, and connecting to the eclipse and anchored by the Golden Gate Bridge. So going to that episode that I was telling you about, the SpongeBob SquarePants Band Geeks episode, which aired on 9701. Again, keep in mind the Golden Gate is at the 267th degree of the ecliptic, and from that same date that you just looked at, Yale's 267th birthday, to the air date of Band Geeks is 12,021 days. And this is really interesting because when you add the permutations of 911, 911 plus 191 plus 119, it equals 1,221. Just like 1221. Also forgot to add, but it also represents like the date of the winter solstice. Me and Casey Jones were talking about it today, and that's like a symbol of darkness, and yeah, and when you think about the bridge collapse that happened today, like it was just like pitch black. Like if you look at the video, there's like no lights or anything, so there could have been some type of connection with that and the the winter solstice, and also Leave the World Behind, how it has to do with like a blackout. So it has this whole darkness theme around it, and so that makes this even more relevant, the 1221. But 1221, it has another connection to 9/11 using the Bible, because Revelation 9:11 is the 154th verse of Revelation, and 9/11 is 156 prime number. So when you add 9/11 plus 156 plus 154, it equals 1,221 again. So 1,221 is really connected to 9/11 in both of these ways, and also shows why the Bible, like this Bible verse, is so important too, and where it's strategically placed as the 154th verse. The episode, or looking at the 267 again, which is the degree of the Golden Gate. The 267th prime number is 1709. Convert that into the date 1709. So from the episode of Band Geeks, again, if you guys forgot, this was like the little, they had a little clip of this episode in the halftime show of Super Bowl 53, which was on 23/19. So from the era of Band Geeks to 1709 is exactly 88 months, and that connects to the time that the bridge collapse happened, which was at 1:28 a.m., and that is the 88th minute of the day. So how perfect, 88 months exactly. And keep this in mind too, the 1467 hours. This is going to be very important too, a little bit later, but yeah, keep that in mind. It's going to have to do with the Great Pyramid of Giza and some other stuff. So you may or may not recall, but there was a highway collapse on the Interstate 95 in Pennsylvania on June 11, 2023. And from this highway collapse to the bridge collapse is exactly 289 days. And again, Mars equals 289, and 289 is 17 times 17. So from the start of the construction of the Golden Gate Bridge to the end of construction of the Francis Scott Key Bridge, it was exactly 2,307 weeks, and the prime factorization of 2,307 is 3 times 769, and 3,769 is the 525th prime number, and again that connects to Mars because like we showed, the magic square of Mars has 5 rows, 5 columns. It's all the numbers between 1 and 25 consecutively, so the first 2 numbers associated with Mars are 5 and 25, 5 and 25. So the Star Spangled Banner, it originated in the War of 1812. This is interesting because 6:12 p.m., which is a number I talk about a lot, 6:12, is 18 hours and 12 minutes into the day. And Revelation 6:12 is about the great earthquake, and sun became black as sackcloth of hair, solar eclipse, and the moon became as blood, lunar eclipse, blood moon eclipse. Going back to Band Geeks, the episode of SpongeBob, from the air date to 2319, or the day that the Super Bowl 53, it was 6,359 days, and that is the 828th prime number, and 828 is 612 plus its mirror, 216. And I think a lot of the truthers are familiar with the 216 being 6 times 6 times 6. So I guess you could also say that 828 equals 612 plus 6 times 6 times 6. Francis Scott Key, from his death date to the Golden Gate Bridge terror threat alert and the Monsters Inc. Release of Monsters Inc. It was 58,005 days. I've talked about the 585 a lot, which I've learned from Casey Jones in 7.1, that the study of earthquakes began in 585 BC, and that is also the year that the first eclipse was predicted, and this was all by Talls of Miletus. So 58,005 days, that's pretty big. So looking at the number 2319, 3 is the second prime, 5 is the third prime, 67 is the 19th prime. So 3567, and when you go from 3567 to Yale's 267th birthday, it's 585 days. Just like the study of earthquakes began in 585 BC. So I just wanted to remind you guys, I've shared this before in a few of my past videos, but if this is your first video that you're watching of mine, this 267th birthday of Yale is very, very important, I guess, like regarding the eclipse coming up, because it's exactly 666 months exactly before the eclipse. And the day before the eclipse is WrestleMania 40. This is Cody talks a lot about WrestleMania 40, and he's doing a great job decoding with Cody. And it's crazy because it's the day right before the eclipse, April 7th. So from that date to the future 3567, again, this represents the second prime is 3, the third prime is 5, the 19th prime is 67. It is exactly 2,239 weeks, and 2,239 is the 333rd prime number. This 333, I've also been talking about it a lot regarding the Golden Gate Bridge, so we can review that real quick. I don't know, I thought I wrote it, but okay, so WrestleMania, it's gonna be in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, which it's has the 267 area code. 267. So this was the review. There was a connection between something that I shared, and then this is something that the Illusion, the YouTube channel, he shared the day after, but it was actually like a synchronization, like how our findings like linked up like this. So from the start of the construction of the Golden Gate Bridge to the announcement of the death of Akira Toriyama, so this is the creator of Dragon Ball, they announced his death on 3/8/24, and that day was 33,300 days after the start of the construction of the Golden Gate Bridge. And I thought it was so significant because Akira Toriyama was, I think I spelled his name wrong, he was born exactly 267 months after the start of the construction of the Golden Gate Bridge. So that's pretty crazy. It just is. Exactly 267 months. And then this is what the Illusion shared the day after, which is insane. And we've been talking about war this whole time, and he finds a lot of war connections too. So this just corroborates like the rest of this whole decode. So he shared that from the start of World War II, which was September 1st, 1939, to the March 9th. This is the day after this day, but on this day, the Golden State Warriors, like with the Golden Gate Bridge, right? Golden State, they became 33-30. 30,871 days after the start of World War II, and that is the 3,330th prime number. And I missed this last time I shared this, but so it turns out that they became 17-17 at home. 17-17. Would you look at that? It's just perfect. And this was the day after. So this is how I knew that there was something very important about the 333 with the Golden Gate Bridge. And it's just crazy that, with this 2319, how it converts to this date when you change the prime that these numbers are, the second prime, third prime, 19th prime, exactly the 333rd prime amount of weeks exactly after WrestleMania, which is going to be in the 267 area code. Just crazy. It's so crazy. It's like, oh my god, it's like hurting my head how crazy it is. So 2319 on the clock. Did we look at this already? Is 1,399 minutes. I think we might have looked at this, but 1399 to the Golden Gate Bridge terror alert and the release of Monsters Inc. It was 33 months and 30 days. So there's another perfect connection, like 3330 with the Golden Gate Bridge. It's just crazy, guys. It's so crazy. From the date that represents 2319 on the clock, 1,399 minutes into the day. And of course Monsters Inc. released the same day as this Terror Alert, Monsters Inc. That's where 2319 comes from. I had to share this. This was a comment that was somebody shared. Her name is Jenny. I don't know her, but she sounds like a brilliant person. This was from the Illusions live stream today about this bridge collapse. She said, I don't know if you've already said this because I'm a little behind here, but it's 300 days till the 47th US president will take office, and it's been 17 years, 17 days since the movie 300 was released. And that was phenomenal. I was insane. Here's the proof. So there's the release of the movie 300, and today is 17 years, 17 days after the release of 300. And we've been talking about how this 1717 is ridiculously connected to war and Mars. And this movie obviously is all about war. And then yeah, this is the inauguration, the next inauguration. So 300 days before that. Pretty freaking crazy. So when you go from that Golden Gate Bridge Terror Alert, Monsters Inc. release, to the release of 300 is 1954 days. The prime factorization of 1954 is 2 times 977. And that, again, that represents the total victims on 9/11, 2,977, without the hijackers. So it all just very relevant. Like I said, it's really connected to 9/11 because this threat was directly a response to 9/11, which was 2 months prior to this. And this is this snapshot from the 7-1. So here's his channel. You should please go subscribe. He has been doing videos on 300. So he shared that the eclipse, it will be the 300th millennium lunation. So the 300th lunation since the millennium. That's what that means. And 300 is also the 24th triangular number, and we're in the year 2024, and then the 24th letter is X, and then there's gonna be X over the United States with the eclipse, that eclipse. And this is, I directly got this from Casey, but pretty sure that him and Seven have discussed it. But Gerard Butler, who he was the star of 300, from his birth to the eclipse is 19870 days, and 1987 is the 300th prime number, like the movie 300 and the Millennium Lunation 300. And what she said, Jenny, 300 days before the next inauguration, so 17 years, 17 days from the movie 300. It's insane. It's all insane. The 289th triangular number, remember 289 is 17 times 17, is 41,905. And when you convert that to the date, 2005, to the bridge collapse is exactly 988 weeks. And 988 equals 322 plus 666. So it's just Skull and Bones connection. Skull and Bones 322. That is Yale. They come from Yale University. That's why Yale is so important too. So the 267th minute of the day is 4:27 a.m. and the fourth prime number is 7. The 27th prime number is 103. 7103. And when you go from Yale's 267th birthday to 7103, it's exactly 1812 weeks. Exactly. So again, 6:12 p.m. is 18 hours and 12 minutes into the day, and the War of 1812 is where where Francis Scott Key wrote the Star Spangled Banner. So super, super important, super significant, super relevant. Hurting my head, honestly. We gotta keep going. So, oh yeah, and look at the this 4.45 hours. This is important too. So, the area codes of Pennsylvania are 215, 267, 445. So I showed you the 4.45, 445. And then the Band Geeks, that was episode 2, or season 2, episode 15, like the 215 area code. And then, like the 267. So these are all covered by all this. And the 455 is more relevant when you look at the prime factorization. 5 times 89, like 589, and the midway point between 9/11 and the eclipse is exactly 589 weeks. Exactly. So from 9/11 to the eclipse is split directly by 589 weeks. The 589 is really important, connected to the Star Spangled Banner, because the prime factorization of 589 is 19 times 31, and 19 times 1931, that is the year that the Star Spangled Banner it was adopted as the national anthem. 1931. And also, I think I forgot to write it, but 19 is the 8th prime, 31 is the 11th prime for Revelation 8:11. The date that the degree change of the Golden Gate to the 267th degree of the ecliptic to the Baltimore Bridge collapse is 5,089 days. So the date that the 267 area code was established, 7197. If you go from Yale's 267th birthday to that date, the establishment of the 267 area code is exactly 1,499 weeks. That's the 239th prime number, and that is the address of where Betsy Ross sewed the first American flag on 239 Arch Street. And I didn't draw it, but I believe this is a representation of the Masonic Arch, which is a representation of like a bridging the gap between the two pillars. Very symbolic. 239 Arch Street, 239th prime, 1499. Exactly 1499 weeks from Yale's 267th birthday to the establishment of the 267 area code. So look, these two numbers, these two core numbers, that 239, you get that from 128. Remember the bridge collapsed. It collapsed at 1:28 a.m. So 2319 plus 128 equals 2,447, and that is the 363rd prime. And the prime factorization of 363 is 3 times 11 times 11. That reflects the date of the Fukushima nuclear disaster, which was March 11th, 2011, 3/11/11, 3/11/11. This was And this is so significant because this was a nuclear earthquake event. So it was a nuclear accident that was caused by the Tohoku earthquake. And it resulted in an electric grid failure. So that's another thing we've been kind of seeing foreshadows. Decoding with Cody has been talking about a grid failure for a long time, and his work on it is remarkable. So looking at that nuclear earthquake combo connection, represented by these two verses, Revelation 6:12 about the great earthquake, and Revelation 8:11, that is connected to nuclear because of the star called Wormwood. The Ukrainian word for wormwood is Chernobyl, and like the Chernobyl nuclear disaster that happened in 1986. So 612 plus 811 is 1423, and that's the 224th prime. And remember, 267 is 3 times 89, the second and 24th primes. And remember, we're in the year 2024. So these are very, 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 very relevant to our year today. We'll see why. The 289 triangular number is 41,905. I think I shared that already. I think I did. Yeah, I did. Sorry. So just reiterating that. So from the Golden Gate Bridge terrorist alert to the 289th try, 4/19/05, it's 3 years, 5 months, 17 days. That's the 491st prime number, 3517. And 491 minutes into the day is 8:11 a.m., like Revelation 8:11. And 3517 is also the prime factorization of 255. And that gets you 311 again, because the second prime is 3, the fifth prime is 11, and the fifth prime is 11. So remember 3517, 3517. From 1499, remember the 239th prime is 1499, and 239 Arch Street is where Betsy Ross sewed the first American flag. 1499 to Fukushima is 146 months, 7 days. Like remember we saw earlier, 1:28 a.m. is 1.467 hours. And the bridge collapse was at 1:28. So this is very significant. And let me show you one more thing about this 1467. So 146.7, the original height of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Another thing that I talk about a lot. It was 146.7 meters before erosion. So that's very important. Again, the 128 is connected to that because it's 1.467 hours. And also another connection to the pyramid, from the Chernobyl nuclear disaster to the Baltimore bridge collapse today is exactly 455 months, and that reflects the height of the pyramid in feet after erosion. So without the capstone. So that's kind of like symbolically like the loss of the capstone, like the bridge being a capstone, like bridging the two sides together, and then the collapse is like the erosion of the capstone. I believe that's symbolic of that. This is something I forgot to mention about the 427, the fourth. Because remember, that's 267th minute of the day, and then fourth prime is 7, the 27th prime is 103. From the date 7/103 to the halfway point between the 2017 total solar eclipse and the 2024 total solar eclipse is exactly 911 weeks. Very interesting. Going back to the 289 triangular number, from 4/1905 to the degree change of the Golden Gate. The degree change of the Golden Gate to the 267th degree. We looked at that date a few slides ago. Is exactly 261 weeks. And 261 prime factorization is 3 times 3 times 29. That's the second and 10th prime numbers. 2210. That represents Revelation 6:12. The whole verse, the whole gematria value of Revelation 6:12 equals 2210 in reverse. So that's pretty crazy. Exactly 261 weeks. And we looked at the study of earthquakes, which was 585 and the 585th prime number, or 585 BC. The 585th prime number is 4,261. When you convert that into the date 4/26/01 to the Baltimore Bridge collapse is 22 years 11 months exactly. 2211 on the clock. That's 1,331 minutes into the day. And Revelation 6:12 also equals 1331, the whole verse. But that's when you add the phrase Revelation 6:12 in the beginning. So this one's without the phrase, and this is with it. So 1331 is still very, very representative of Revelation 6:12 and the Great Earthquake. So yeah, considering that's about the Great Earthquake, and then from this, the 585th prime is 4261, 585 being when the study of earthquakes began, 4261 to today's bridge collapse, 22 years 11 days, and that is 1,331 minutes into the day when you convert that into time on the clock. And 1331 also is tied to Revelation 8:11 because 13:31 p.m. is 811 minutes into the day, as you can see there. Again, from the 289 triangular number, from the opening of the Golden Gate Bridge, this is the opening date of the Golden Gate Bridge, to the 289 triangular number, the date that represents that is 24,800 days, 248. You know those numbers, those Kobe's numbers. But that's not random. That is very relevant because I showed in a whole video 2 videos ago, or a few videos, that he was born the exact midway point between the starting of the construction of the Golden Gate Bridge and the eclipse coming up. So he's very relevant, and this makes this even more important. So another thing about the 289, Psalms 1171 is the middle chapter of the whole Bible. It begins the 589th chapter of the whole Bible, and that is the very middle. So this is like the bridge between the first half of the Bible and the second half of the Bible, and you convert that into the date 1171. And from 1171 to the Golden Gate Bridge terror alert is 289 days. Very spot on again. So since we've been looking at both nuclear and earthquake like the connection between the two, and then like this whole situation going on. I've shown nuclear earthquake equals 1189 in the standard cipher, and the 1189th prime number is 9629, and you convert that into the date 9629. From the Golden Gate Bridge terrorist threat to 9629, it was exactly 1,453 weeks, and that's the 231st prime, and Mars equals 231 in standard cipher. So now we're going to talk about Colin Kaepernick. He was a big, played a big role in like redefining the perception of the Star Spangled Banner, the national anthem, and it definitely like changed the course. But I feel like things have gotten a lot more mellow since that time. But things were really crazy. You guys probably know that he would protest against the national anthem because of like the full lyrics of like all the, I guess, yeah. And we don't have to get too in depth with it now, but we're just basically talking about the time period and when it started, which was September 1st, 2016. Another connection is that he was on the 49ers, like for San Francisco, and the Golden Gate Bridge. And just looking at this 3567 again, which is it represents 2319, second prime 3, third prime 5, 19th prime 67. So from 3567 to that date when he first kneeled, it was 18,079 days, and 1879 is the 289th prime. So all by design. And this date was very interesting because from that date to the eclipse coming up, it was 2,777 days, and there's 2,777 is the 404th prime number, and there's 404 total verses in the book of Revelation. And that time span is equivalent to 91 months, 1 week, and 1 day, like 9/11/01, 9/11. Again, the study of earthquakes began in 585 BC, and the 585th prime is 4261. From 4261 to the kneeling is 801 weeks and 1 day, 811. Revelation 8:11. This is his birth. From his birth to Fukushima, which we looked at a few slides ago, 280 months and 9 days, 289 again, and to show like how that connects to the golden ratio again, 1618, 2 times 809, 2809, and we saw how important the number 53 is, and 2809 is 53 times 53, 53rd square. Going back to the kneeling, to the date 2319, the same day as Super Bowl 53, 2 years, 22 weeks, and 1 day, and that reflects Revelation 22:21, the final verse of the whole Bible, 2221. I guess that's it. Yeah. And that was a lot. Like I said, my head hurts a lot after making this, and like getting all this information. Each connection was just really blowing my mind more and more, and then I still haven't fully processed it all. I'm still like Can't believe it, and I'm kind of in shock by how coded this event is and how it all is tied to like all this stuff like the national anthem and Mars war, the bridge, all the bridge stuff, 2319, Monsters Inc., like all this stuff is just, it's hard. Like if you were like I bet like from my thumbnail you see a bunch of random things, you're like, how are these all gonna connect? But pretty sure like that should all show how, and that's why this video is so long too, because it really does take a lot to show how they are all connected. Like these random things that you probably would have not have thought, like never would have thought that you could connect the Monsters Inc. to the Star Spangled Banner, but they're all pieces of the same puzzle, and I don't know. I don't have much else to say. I can't really say much else. I wanted to live stream this, but I think I might need to install some more stuff before I do. But I do want to do my first live stream soon. And good job to everybody else who's done decodes on this. Yeah. Like if it wasn't for you guys, I might not have even thought of that situation as being important. I wouldn't have looked into it myself. So you guys help me a lot by when I see how much emphasis you guys are putting on the situations. That's when I know that they're important enough for me to, like, that's when I know that I need to look into them. So yeah, you guys, like I said, you helped me a lot, and thanks everyone who stood till the end, and just who's still supporting me. But yeah, please share this one, just because I feel like this information really is really important, and I think this is one of the videos that I think would wake up someone who's still not even fully awake yet. But like some of the information, it really is undeniable. Like there's no way, there's no logical way that anyone could debunk any of this stuff. So if you wanted to try to wake somebody up, I feel like a lot of things in this video they should do that. They should help at least. But leave more feedback in the comments. Let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.